Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Orlando Magic and Washington Wizards. As the anticipation builds for an electrifying clash on the hardwood between the Orlando Magic and the Washington Wizards, we're looking at a narrative that's as captivating for hoops enthusiasts as it is for those laying down bets. The Magic are on a hot streak, boasting a 4-game tear they're itching to stretch against the Wizards, who've been caught in a downward spiral since the tail end of January. The Magic are in fine form, having clinched victories against formidable foes such as the Jazz, Nets, Pistons, and Hornets. Their scoring and defense are on point, averaging 111.3 points on a 47.8% shooting spree, while holding their rivals to 109.5 points on a 47.5% clip. The spotlight shines on Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs, whose stellar play, combined with their sharp shooting from deep in prowess at the charity stripe, exemplifies Orlando's well-rounded offensive strategy. Their defensive grit, particularly in curbing the three-point success of their adversaries to a mere 35.7% and showcasing rebounding dominance, poses a significant threat to any challenger. On the flip side, the Wizards are navigating through troubled waters, scoring an average of 114.6 points on 47.1% from the field, but conceding a staggering 124.7 points at a 50.1% shooting rate to their opponents. Their defensive struggles are glaring. Despite commendable scoring efforts from Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, Washington's leaky defense has been their Achilles heel. Their performance beyond the arc and at the free throw line, coupled with their rebounding stats, hasn't compensated for their defensive deficits. Looking at recent encounters, the Magic have had the upper hand over the Wizards, especially in outscoring them well beyond their season's norm. This, along with Washington's defensive vulnerabilities, tips the scale in favor of Orlando. The Magic's track record against the spread, particularly on the road, and their robust showings as favorites, point to their ability to beat the spread in this matchup. Conversely, despite their scoring talent, the Wizards have struggled to convert this into wins, particularly on their home court, leaving much to be desired. Nevertheless, their quick pace and potential for high-scoring affairs might swing the total points tally. The Wizards have been on a losing streak for over a month, with a 28-32 record against the spread this season, marking them as the NBA's laggards. It's hard to justify backing them in bets from one game to the next. Meanwhile, the Magic have shown inconsistency in back-to-back games, with only 3 wins out of 12 attempts. Predicting this game is tricky. While a win for the Magic seems likely, whether they can surpass the 7.5-point spread is up for debate. Yet, given the Wizards' lackluster performance, the advice is clear. If it's working, no need to tweak it. The Magic are set to score amply and showcase solid play to surpass the spread in this face-off. To sum up, though the Wizards might give it their all, the Orlando Magic's current momentum and their track record against Washington should propel them to victory and beyond the spread. With their offensive efficiency and defensive prowess, the Magic are poised to not only triumph, but also cover the minus 7.5-point spread, with the game's total points possibly tipping towards the over, given both teams' scoring potential. My money's on the Orlando Magic to clinch the win and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Atlanta Hawks. As the NBA season hits its peak, the Cleveland Cavaliers are heading down to State Farm Arena for a showdown with the Atlanta Hawks, promising an electrifying Eastern Conference clash this Wednesday night. The Cavaliers, comfortably positioned in third in the conference, aim to extend their unexpected winning streak, having already swept the Hawks in their 3 encounters this season. Meanwhile, the Hawks, with their eyes on the playoffs, are determined to snap their losing spell and ascend the Eastern Conference ranks. Lately, the Cavaliers have been riding a wave of highs and lows, with a balanced record in their recent games. Despite battling significant injuries, including 2 stars Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus, they've managed to keep up their impressive play. Mitchell's absence is keenly felt, given his team-leading scoring average. However, the Cavs knack for maintaining their scoring pace, with 48% field goal shooting and 36.8% from three-point range, alongside their formidable defense that limits opponents to 109.4 points on 45.4% shooting, ranks them among the elite defensive squads in the league, potentially tipping the scales in their favor in this matchup. On the other end, the Atlanta Hawks, with an offensive output of 120.4 points, but conceding 122.4 points on average, are in a defensive bind. Their offensive drive, led by DeJounte Murray in Trae Young's absence, has been notable. Nevertheless, their defensive struggles, especially in perimeter defense allowing 38.6% shooting, might just be their downfall against a Cavs team ready to capitalize on this weakness. The injury report adds a layer of unpredictability to the game. With crucial players sidelined on both teams, the depth and the ability of the secondary lineup to rise to the occasion will be key. The Cavaliers are particularly hit hard, with Isaac Okoro and Caris LeVert's potential absences further complicating matters. The season's record favors the Cavaliers in matchups in Atlanta, despite their injury concerns. Yet, the element of fatigue from back-to-back games for both teams introduces a factor that can't be ignored. Historical trends hint at a slight edge for the home team under these circumstances, buoyed by energy and fan support. Considering the Cavaliers' notable, albeit injury-ridden squad and the Hawks' push for playoff positioning, this duel is shaping up to be a close battle. The Hawks' scoring prowess and the Cavs' defensive strength prepare us for a memorable face-off. However, with the Hawks in slightly better health and the Cavaliers recently struggling to cover the spread, the advantage subtly shifts to Atlanta. This game's outcome may well depend on which team better exploits the other's shortcomings. The Hawks, fueled by home advantage and a drive to overturn their season's defeats to the Cavs, appear primed to leverage Cleveland's injury issues. Thus, my forecast tilts in favor of the Atlanta Hawks, not just triumphing, but also covering the 1.5-point spread. With both teams' offensive might and defensive frailties, expect the total score to exceed the 16.5-point mark, making betting on the over a sound choice. In sum, Mitchell's absence weighs heavier on the Cavaliers than Young's does on the Hawks, leading me to back the Hawks to overcome the spread. Amid injuries and consecutive games, the Hawks' depth and home field give them the upper hand in this close contest. My bet is on the Atlanta Hawks to emerge victorious and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Memphis Grizzlies and Philadelphia 76ers. Tonight's showdown at the Wells Fargo Center features the Memphis Grizzlies and the Philadelphia 76ers in a hoop fest that's more than just another date on the NBA calendar. The Grizzlies are on a mission for redemption after a challenging period that resulted in them dropping 14 of their last 17 matches. Despite showing moments of brilliance, inconsistency has plagued their game. Meanwhile, the 76ers, with a break-even record in their recent outings, aim to cement their spot in the playoffs amidst battling significant injuries. The Grizzlies, though hit hard by recent defeats, have bounced back, notably breaking their losing streak against the Brooklyn Nets. Their struggle to rack up points has been evident, as they've managed an average of just 106.1 points per game on a shooting percentage of 43.8%. However, their defense has been a beacon of hope, allowing 112.6 points per game, which ranks them 10th defensively across the league. The 76ers, despite the uncertainty of Tyrese Maxey's play due to a concussion, have kept their offense firing on all cylinders, averaging 117.1 points on 47% shooting. Their defense, however, has mirrored their offensive output, giving up 113.8 points on a shooting percentage of 47.4%. The absence of Joel Embiid has been deeply felt, and the potential loss of Maxey could further complicate their offensive game plan. The 76ers have historically had the upper hand in their home games against Southwest Division teams, particularly those with a losing record. However, their recent form against sub-500 teams at home has been underwhelming, failing to beat the spread in their last 6 attempts. On the flip side, the Grizzlies have thrived against Eastern Conference teams on the road, especially following a win as underdogs, successfully beating the spread in their last 7 such matchups. For Memphis, defense will be the key to victory. Their ability to stifle their opponent's offense, especially in the absence of the 76ers' key scorers, could swing the game in their favor. The 76ers need to utilize their home court advantage and depth to counter the Grizzlies' defensive prowess, even without Maxey. Considering both teams' current form, injury woes, and historical performances in Philadelphia, the odds seem to lean slightly towards the Grizzlies, especially with the spread in mind. The Grizzlies have demonstrated their competitive edge on the road and a consistent ability to beat the spread as underdogs. With the 76ers potentially missing Maxey and already without Embiid, their offense might struggle against the Grizzlies' top-tier defense. Given the 76ers' status as favorites with a 5.5-point spread and a total points line set at 209, this matchup is expected to be tight. Yet, the Grizzlies' resilience as underdogs and their defensive strength make them likely to beat the spread. Considering the recent performances and injury concerns of both teams, the total points are anticipated to fall below the 209-point threshold. In sum, despite the 76ers' home advantage and superior record, the Grizzlies' defensive solidity and the impact of the 76ers' injuries lead me to predict the Grizzlies will beat the 5.5-point spread. The absence of key Philadelphia players will likely limit their offensive effectiveness, enabling Memphis to keep the score tight or perhaps pull off an upset. My pick is on the Memphis Grizzlies to beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Los Angeles Clippers and Houston Rockets. In the exhilarating universe of the NBA, the showdown between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Houston Rockets is poised to be an electrifying clash that every basketball aficionado should mark on their calendar. The Clippers, with an impressive record of 39-21, are eager to make amends after a slight hiccup against the formidable Milwaukee Bucks. Their last face-off with the Rockets saw them clinch a hard-fought victory by a margin of 6 points, a triumph propelled by the exceptional exploits of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden, who together amassed 73 points, 12 assists, and 25 rebounds. Despite a team shooting percentage just shy of 44%, their sharp shooting from the three-point line, sinking 13 trays, played a pivotal role in their win. On the flip side, the Rockets are weathering a tough phase, with 10 losses in their recent 15 games, and are stepping into this game possibly weary from their recent battle against the San Antonio Spurs. Peering into the Clippers' stats reveals their tenacity, as evidenced by their rebound victories over the Wizards and Timberwolves following the setback against the Bucks. They're netting an average of 117.2 points on an exceptional shooting efficiency of 49.1%, while holding their adversaries to 112.5 points at a 46.7% shooting rate. Leonard and George are the keystones of the Clippers' offensive machinery, with Harden offering significant all-around contributions. Their adeptness from beyond the arc, 38.9%, and free throw line, 81.5%, together with robust rebounding, averaging 42.9 per game, sets them up as a powerhouse. Conversely, the Rockets' performance has been a mixed affair, with a commendable win over the Spurs, but losses to the Thunder and Suns. Averaging 112.8 points at a 45.5% shooting rate, their scoring is on par with what they concede defensively. Sengun and Green have emerged as pivotal scorers, with Van Vliet orchestrating the playmaking. Yet, their three-point, 34.7%, and free throw, 76.8%. Shooting percentages highlight areas ripe for enhancement, particularly in juxtaposition with the Clippers' stats. A deep dive into the team dynamics and historical matchups underscores intriguing patterns. The Clippers have shown their prowess in dominating teams with subpar records, and have excelled when facing teams tired from consecutive games, indicating potential trouble for the Rockets' post-Spurs game. The Clippers' defensive strategy, key in curbing opponents' scoring, along with their knack for dictating the game's rhythm and enforcing a defensive slugfest, augments their chance of success, especially when they manage to keep teams below their average scoring. Despite their hiccups, the Rockets have displayed resilience, particularly against Pacific Division foes and in games succeeding in a home victory. Their ability to defy the odds in such situations merits attention. However, their fluctuating performance and lesser scoring efficiency, especially from the three-point line, tips the scales in favor of the Clippers, who shine in offensive and defensive measures. Considering the Clippers' superior field and three-point shooting percentages, along with their defensive rebounding edge, the forecast favors the Clippers not just to emerge victorious, but also to beat the spread. Their prowess in clutch situations, historical upper hand over the Rockets, and efficiency in back-to-back games cement their status as the favorites. Although the Rockets could surprise, the Clippers' overall superior efficiency and drive to bounce back from their recent defeat makes them the probable winners. Anticipate a defensively intense match, with the Clippers dictating the pace and leveraging their scoring talent to notch a victory and surpass the 6.5-point spread. With both teams' defensive strengths and recent trends in mind, expect a tilt towards a lower total score, under the 225.5 points threshold, indicative of the anticipated defensive duel and the Clippers' capability to restrict the Rockets' offensive output. My bet is on the Los Angeles Clippers to triumph and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Chicago Bulls and Utah Jazz. In the thrilling world of the NBA, an epic face-off is on the horizon as the Chicago Bulls gear up to take on the Utah Jazz. This clash features two squads at critical junctures of their seasons. The Bulls, caught in a cycle of victories and defeats lately, are barely holding on to the 9th slot in the leaderboard. Their determination is put to the test against the Jazz, who are scrambling to regain their stride after sliding down to 11th in the Western Conference, further burdened by a disheartening 2-8 run in their last 10 games. Delving into the Bulls' gameplay, we see a team showcasing grit, bagging significant wins against tough teams like the Cavs and Kings, yet faltering in matches where their defense didn't hold up. With a scoring average of 111.7 points at a 46.4% shooting rate, the Bulls lean on DeMar DeRozan's stellar 22.9 points per game for their offensive game plan. However, their defensive shortcomings, giving up 113.1 points on average, underline a weakness that the Jazz's high-octane offense could exploit. On the flip side, the Utah Jazz, in spite of their recent hiccups, display a vibrant offense averaging 117.7 points on 46.9% shooting, with Lauri Markkanen leading the charge with 23.1 points and 8.3 rebounds per game. Their defensive woes, though, letting through an average of 120.4 points, have been a thorn in their side, contributing significantly to their slump. A pivotal element to weigh is how both teams stack up in specific statistical arenas critical to NBA game outcomes. The Jazz's difficulties in reducing the number of blocks by opponents and turnovers, placing them at the lower end of the league in these areas, indicate a vulnerability that the Bulls could exploit. Conversely, the Bulls' difficulty in defending against the three-pointer, conceding the highest number of three-point shots per game, could open a window for the Jazz if they exploit their shooting prowess. Looking at previous encounters in Salt Lake City sheds light on the significance of home court advantage, with the Jazz typically using their venue familiarity to notch important victories. This matchup is poised to be a showdown where offensive firepower meets defensive tactics. The urgency for a win is paramount for the Bulls, given the daunting stretch ahead, while the Jazz, despite their form, remain a force to reckon with at home, thanks to their scoring ability. In sum, although the Bulls are the nominal favorites, the Jazz's knack for surpassing expectations, especially on their turf, and Chicago's defensive leaks, hint at a more contested battle than what the odds suggest. The Bulls' inconsistency and the Jazz's playoff chase set the stage for a potential surprise. Nonetheless, the Bulls' marginally better blend of offense and defense, coupled with their dire win necessity, tilt the odds in their favor for this duel. Anticipating a closely fought contest, the Bulls are expected to clinch a victory, yet the Jazz will pose a formidable challenge. Considering both teams' offensive strengths and defensive struggles, the total score is predicted to exceed the expected margin. Here, the Bulls are tipped to win, but the Utah Jazz are favored to beat the 6-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Milwaukee Bucks and Golden State Warriors. As dusk descends upon Chase Center, the basketball world braces for a colossal showdown. The Milwaukee Bucks versus the Golden State Warriors, a true feast for the eyes, blending high-octane plays with masterful strategies. The Bucks, riding the high of a 6-game win streak, march onto the hardwood with a stellar record of 41 wins and 21 losses, clutching tightly to the Eastern Conference's second seed. Their resilience shone brightly as they clinched a win against the Clippers, even in the absence of their stars, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, showcasing the team's depth and adaptability. Across the court, the Warriors, sitting 10th in the Western Conference with a 32-28 tally, are itching to rebound from their recent setback against the Celtics, aiming to leverage their home turf to ascend the standings. Delving into the team's recent form and encounters, it's clear the Bucks boast a formidable offense, with a scoring average of 121.4 points at a 49.3% shooting rate, complemented by a solid 37.6% from three-point land. While not top tier, their defense remains competitive, holding opponents to 116.9 points. Conversely, the Warriors display a robust offensive game as well, scoring 118.6 points on average, but slightly trailing in defensive efficiency, allowing 117.2 points. The spotlight shines on Stephen Curry's lethal accuracy from downtown, making him a key player for the Warriors. However, the Bucks' ability to amp up their game in the crucial final quarter, topping the league in points scored during that period, could challenge the Warriors' defense. The injury list adds another layer of intrigue, with the Bucks possibly missing the dynamic Giannis Antetokounmpo, impacting their offensive and defensive capabilities. Historical matchups at Chase Center highlight the Warriors' home court edge. Still, the Bucks' recent road victories and offensive rating, second highest in the league, suggest they could turn the tables. Considering the Warriors' comparatively healthy squad and Curry's strategic influence, alongside the Bucks' potential shortcomings without Antetokounmpo, the Warriors are tipped as favorites. Their scoring depth, especially from beyond the arc, and a rebounding advantage, may expose the Bucks' defensive and rebounding weaknesses. To sum up, despite the Bucks' strategic brilliance and resilience, the Warriors' combination of home advantage, offensive firepower, and a healthier lineup are expected to tip the scales in their favor. Anticipate the Golden State Warriors not only securing a victory, but also covering the 4.5-point spread in a clash that promises strategic depth and thrilling basketball. While predicting the total points margin is more challenging, given the scoring prowess on both sides, the potential absence of key Milwaukee players might tip the game towards not reaching the 226.5 points threshold. My money's on the Golden State Warriors to clinch the win and beat the spread. Ensure to review the injury updates for both teams before placing any bets. The next prediction for today is for the game between Oklahoma City Thunder and Portland Trailblazers. In an electrifying showdown, the Oklahoma City Thunder are gearing up to welcome the Portland Trailblazers. This clash is pivotal for both squads. The Thunder are riding a wave of momentum with 7 victories in their last 9 outings, aiming to keep the streak alive, while the Trailblazers are on a quest to turn their luck around after a rough patch, dropping 10 of their recent 12 games. Looking at the numbers, the Thunder have been lighting it up on offense, racking up an average of 120.9 points on a solid 50% from the field, and their defense isn't slacking either, limiting foes to 113.3 points on 45.2% shooting. Stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dropping an impressive 31.1 points and dishing out 6.5 assists per game, along with Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, have been key to their success. Their sharp shooting from downtown at a 39.5% clip and dominance on the boards, with an average of 41.6 rebounds per game, have established them as a force to be reckoned with. On the flip side, the Trailblazers have been stumbling on offense, managing just 107.6 points on 44% shooting. Despite commendable efforts from Anfernee Simons and Jerami Grant, they've struggled to match up, conceding 115.7 points on 49.3% shooting. Their performance from beyond the arc and in the rebounding department falls short of the Thunder's, which could tip the scales in this encounter. Historically, the Thunder have had the Blazers' number, notching 10 consecutive wins and beating the spread in 8 of those. This streak, coupled with their current form, tips the scales in Oklahoma City's favor. Moreover, the Thunder's league-leading shot-blocking prowess starkly contrasts with Portland's challenges in creating assists and high-quality shots. Given the Blazers' recent woes and their track record against the Thunder, especially in Oklahoma City, the odds are stacked in the Thunder's favor. The stats and recent performances indicate that Oklahoma City is not just capable of beating the spread, but also likely to push the total points beyond the threshold, considering both teams' recent tendencies. Pending injury updates and player availability, the Thunder's well-rounded offensive and defensive game, boosted by the home court, should overwhelm the Blazers. Oklahoma City's strategy to increase the tempo and capitalize on Portland's defensive shortcomings is expected to lead to a high-scoring game, favoring the over in total points. In summary, despite the Blazers' determination, the Oklahoma City Thunder's offensive prowess, historical edge, and statistical superiority should see them clinch the win and beat the minus 12.5-point spread. With the scoring patterns of both teams and the Thunder's ability to accelerate play, placing a bet on the total points to exceed 224 is a sound strategy. I'm backing the Oklahoma City Thunder to secure the victory and outdo the spread, with the game's total points soaring past 224. The last prediction for today is for the game between Sacramento Kings and Los Angeles Lakers. Tonight's clash on the hardwood features the Sacramento Kings squaring off against the Los Angeles Lakers in what's gearing up to be a high-flying, edge-of-your-seat basketball spectacle. Both squads find themselves at pivotal moments in their campaigns. The Kings are hungry to shake off a recent slump, having lost 3 of their last 4 matchups, while the Lakers are riding a wave of success, netting 7 wins in their last 10 games. When it comes to lighting up the scoreboard, the Kings have been on fire this season, dropping an average of 118.1 points per game with a shooting accuracy of 48.3%, spearheaded by De'Aaron Fox's stellar performance averaging 26.8 points and snagging 4.2 boards. Domantas Sabonis has been a beast on the glass, leading the league with an average of 13.4 rebounds per game and chipping in 19.9 points to boot. Their sniper-like precision from downtown, draining 37% of their attempts, has been a critical piece of their playbook. Yet their defensive efforts have been less than stellar, allowing adversaries to put up 117.8 points on average and connect on 39.6% of their long-range bombs. The Los Angeles Lakers have kept pace in the scoring department, averaging 117.1 points with a slightly superior shooting efficiency of 49.7%, largely thanks to the heroics of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who've been instrumental in scoring and rebounding. Despite facing setbacks with injuries, the Lakers bench has stepped up, making key contributions throughout the roster. Their three-point game is slightly ahead of the Kings at 37.3%, and their defensive stats are nearly a mirror image of Sacramento's. The Lakers' home court could prove to be a fortress tonight, traditionally giving them an edge. Looking back at the last few showdowns in LA, the outcomes have been mixed, but the Lakers' current momentum may just tip the scales in their favor. The Kings' struggles against teams with robust offensive and defensive rebounding could find themselves magnified against the Lakers' rebounding capabilities, despite the Lakers' own battles on the offensive boards this season. Injuries could be a game-changer tonight, with the Kings potentially at full strength and the Lakers dealing with significant absences. However, the Lakers' depth and their stars' recent top-tier play could balance out these hurdles. Weighing the stats, the head-to-head record, and current form, the Lakers' slight edge in shooting efficiency and rebounding, coupled with their home court advantage and momentum, positions them favorably to beat the spread. The Kings will undoubtedly bring a strong challenge with their dynamic scoring and deep shooting, but the Lakers' well-rounded assault and recent victories tip the scales in their favor in this duel. Forecasting the total points, with both teams leaning towards high-octane games, and considering their offensive firepower, it's tempting to predict a scorefest over the 238-point mark. However, the Lakers' potential to tighten up their defense at home could keep the score just below. In summary, brace for a nail-biter filled with highlight reel moments, but the Los Angeles Lakers look set to leverage their home advantage and recent hot streak to eclipse the minus 3.5-point spread and clinch the victory, with the total points possibly dipping below the 238-point line thanks to strategic defensive play by both teams. My money's on the Los Angeles Lakers to triumph and cover the spread.